Good morning. January 3rd. Happy New Year to everyone. As we start the new year, we have losses across grains. 12.5 cent losses in corn in the March corn contract. March soybeans down 27 cents for the week. Chicago Board of Trade wheat down 12.5 and making new lows. Minneapolis wheat down 8.5 cents. So losses in the grains, but look at the livestock. $6.35 gains in fat cattle, February fat cattle, March feeders up $12.52. And these, look at these extremes. Big gains in cattle, actually modest losses in comparison in the grains, but look at these huge losses in the precious metals. Of course, these have been the superstar markets, gold more than doubling in the past year and a half from previous all-time highs. That would be like soybeans going from $18, the all-time high, to 36. Silver down $6.18. Boy, that's like 9%. Huge declines and a big downside reversal in the silver market as we end the year 2025. Crude oil, in contrast, doing almost nothing, up 58 cents. And yet the United States has taken out the leader of Venezuela, captured him and his wife yesterday and brought them back to the United States. Wow. The United States is toppling the government of Venezuela, a huge oil-rich country. The dollar up modestly, up 0.46 this week. Of course, we might see some fireworks in the dollar Monday following the capture of the Venezuelan leader. So let's look at these charts. Some interesting observations. While the grains have had a horrible last few weeks, especially soybeans, corn is actually maintaining this uptrend, albeit it looks weak. I mean, we are threatening breaking below that previous low, but we still have higher lows and relatively higher highs, although this did not accomplish that objective. So maybe we'll have that uptrend in jeopardy, as we come forward. But certainly the soybeans have been the weak sister, although they were the the superstar of the market from mid-October to mid-November, rallying over $1.20, and now actually since mid-November to the end of the year, losing pretty much all of those gains back. We are still at higher lows here than the previous low and still maintaining that uptrend. But boy, that certainly looks in jeopardy. What a rapid decline we've had lately in the soybeans, including the 4 trading days this week, shortened trading day. Chicago wheat, unfortunately, going to new lows on Friday, breaking below the previous low. So boy, it looks like that downtrend is still intact. Minneapolis wheat holding the previous low, but showing some weakness as well. And you get to these livestock markets, look at the strength we had. Pretty much we've had, I think it's 5 straight days up in the live cattle, same in the feeders, filled these gaps. And actually, they're going to probably try and challenge this recent high. But did we run out of our bullish momentum with this last potential bullish gasp? We'll look at this is the feeder cattle also filling that gap, even showing more strength. And obviously the cattle market, look at what happened here. We dropped, from 380 below 300, $90 basically, and we've gained probably $55 or so of that back. Did the fundamentals change anywhere here? That is a very interesting situation. Have we really changed anything fundamentally? But boy, somebody's having a lot of fun in the markets, whoever is in control of that cattle market at this point. It's the outside markets. Gold, probably a much bigger market than cattle, running to new recent highs. And then, bam, these last 4 or 5 days, a lot of weakness in gold, dropping below that previous all-time high. And actually, the question here is the gold bull market done? And maybe more emphatically, look what happened here in the gold or in the silver market. New all-time highs on Monday this week, but we rallied $5 on the open Monday, overnight and open, And then we closed like $7 lower, a $12 range on Monday. Huge downside reversal. We gained like $6 or $7 back. The next day, lost it, and now closing on and below those lows. Boy, it's possible the silver market has topped as well. Certainly the kind of price action that you would expect 10, 9, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14% moves in one day in the silver market. Every day was volatile this past week. So someone's having a lot of fun in the silver and gold market too, right? US dollar index moving very little. There might be some uptick in that with the United States taking out the Venezuelan leader. There's a lot of resources in Venezuela. And they've been a socialist regime for a number of years, which has run it from one of the most wealthy countries in the world down to one of the worst run countries in the world, like socialism always does. There's a lot of resources run inefficiently in Venezuela under that socialist regime. Of course, the United States has our own socialists here, right? But actually, there's a lot of resources there right next door to the United States. Maybe the United States military learned a lot, more or less directing the Ukrainian military and using the new techniques, going into Venezuela in the capital and taking out the president and his wife in, in uh, a venture that the United States military did. Wow, that is interesting. We were also taking Russian generals out in Russia, in Moscow even, in assassinations. Were we or were the Ukrainians? Oh, who really knows? But wow, somebody in the military learned a lot to be able to go in. And actually, Venezuela, a socialist country in our own backyard, maybe that with a lot of rich resources and people who have been persecuted for a long time. And that actually makes a little more sense in military action than somewhere way across the world in Ukraine. The crude oil market not doing much, of course. It might on Monday morning, but the crude oil market is actually near the lows for the year, around $56. And actually, if the United States uh, topples the Venezuelan government, maybe crude oil will get a whole lot cheaper. So a lot going on in these markets. They more so in livestock and in than in grains. The grains are moving, slowly. And although we've had significant losses in soybeans, but they're moving slowly compared to the livestock, the cattle market. And almost not moving at cattle are almost not moving at all compared to silver and gold this week. Some huge volatile actions there. And maybe we'll find out about crude oil and energy markets on Monday. But, well, not a lot seems to be changing fundamentally. There has been a lot of fluctuation in markets. And so as we start the new year, there's new possibilities. We've had grain prices low for quite some time. Are they going to finally come to life? Soybeans showed some of that life at the end of 2025. Maybe there's a whole lot more happening. Actually, South American weather has improved significantly in the past month. There is still some dry areas in the eastern part, north or northeastern part of South America, Brazil. We'll see if that becomes an issue, but certainly they did get rains in some of the principal growing areas, and that has pressured the soybeans. You have a great weekend and good marketing.